Hi team, I hope you're all well. Today we're going to be doing the end of year book tag. I can't remember if I did one of these last year or not. I tend to do like an end of year TBR, but I think I would just be getting silly if I did one of those. I tend to do seasonal TBRs as well as monthly TBRs, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But there are a couple of books on here, like some of the questions are, what are some books that you want to get to by the end of the year? So, you know, you will still get some of my thoughts on what I would like to get to by the end of the year, but I thought we would do this fun little tag. I feel like I haven't done a tag in ages, and I do love a good tag. I just think they're really fun videos to do. So without further ado, let's get into this tag video. Okay, first question is, are there any books that you started this year that you need to finish? Now, I did have one on my currently reading on Goodreads, and it was Mina and the Cult by Amy McCaw. It had been on there for 196 days, I think it was. I started it in April and I actually managed to finish it last week. I'm so proud of myself. There was a moment in time where I had 0 books on my currently reading. It didn't last very long, let me tell you. But right now, I think there's only one book on my currently reading that I'm not right now actively reading, but do want to get back to and make sure it's cleared off there before the end of the year, and that is Here With Me by Brooke Montgomery. Now, what happened with this is that I started it. I'm not a fan of the male narrator in this, who's narrating the male main character. He's not doing a great job for me. He's doing literally nothing for me. He sounds like a robot, like an AI. He's got no emotion, and it's really putting me off the book a little bit. So I've decided to physically read it. However, what's happened is, this is book 1 in a series of which I've read book 3. Don't with me. These can be read as standalones. They're more enjoyable if you read them in order. Didn't know that when I got an arc of book 3, so I made the promise to myself that I would go back and read the rest in the series. Haven't had a chance to do that before the arc of book 4 has come in. So I've decided, obviously it makes no sense to be reading books 1 and 4 in this series at the same time, so I'm putting this down for the time being. I'm going to focus on book 4 in this series, and then I will come back to this one. And then I've got to read book 2, and there's a book 0.5 that I've got to read as well. I am all over the place. Listen, I am a shit show, and you should know this by now, okay? So this is the only one am I currently reading that I'm not actively right this second reading, but it is still currently on my currently reading, and I would like to get to by the end of the year. It's the only one. It has been on there for less than a week, so we're not doing too bad. Mina and the Cult was going to be the answer for this, but I've already nailed it. Good job, Steph. Alright, next, do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? I don't know when this end of year book tag is meant to be done. I've been reading autumnally for the last 2 months. This room's been decorated since the middle of August, but in answer to this question, I'm just going to go with Bring Me Your Midnight by Rachel Griffin. I think that this will be a pretty good autumnal transition book, maybe. I haven't read it yet, and I really could do with doing so. It is on my 12 books from 12 friends, so I could really do with getting to this one. Rachel Griffin does really great magic books, witchy magic books, and I really enjoy them. I loved the first one, The Nature of Witches. I've just recently reread for the first time, and it still holds up for me. I absolutely love it. The second one, which was called Wild is the Witch, I didn't enjoy as much, so I'm a little bit apprehensive about going into this one, but regardless, I do think that I could enjoy it. I don't know the full ins and outs of this one at all, to be honest. A lush romantic fantasy about forbidden love, the choices we make, and the pull between duty and desire. I don't know anything else other than that, so Bring Me Your Midnight. Okay, next, is there a new release that you're still waiting for? There is a couple, actually. Off the top of my head, the sequel to Bonesmith by Nikki Palpretto, I know it's already out. Ghostsmith is already out, but I've ordered the Feraloot edition, so I am still waiting for my copy to come. It is supposed to be on its way to me. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I am waiting for that to come. So I'm very excited about finishing this series off. I'm really excited about continuing on with that. I'll put a picture of Ghostsmith up here. But yeah, Ghostsmith I'm definitely waiting for. I know it's already released, but I didn't want 2 copies of it, so I have waited until the Feraloot edition has come. But there is that one. I'm also looking forward to, is it called Teller of Small Fortunes? Again, I do have it pre-ordered, but I'm aware that it is coming in a subscription box as well, and I'm really, really excited about that one. That sounds great. So I'm very hyped about that one. I'm trying to think about what else is being released towards the end of the year. Off the top of my head, they're the only two that I can think of. Off the top of my head, I could be missing a whole bunch. When does Kayla James's new book come out, the sequel to Lights Out? It might be next year. Oh no, Jumpstart. It comes out on the 15th of December. That one. I'm very excited about that book as well, which is the sequel to Lights Out, which I absolutely loved. It's my favourite F1 romance of all time. Very excited about Jumpstart coming out as well. So yeah, I think maybe those three. So Ghostsmith, The Teller of Small Fortunes and Jumpstart. Very excited about all of those for sure. So the next question is, what are 3 books that you want to read by the end of the year? Probably the 3 I've just mentioned, definitely. I obviously want to read this by the end of the year. I would really like that for sure. But I would also really like to read We Used to Live Here by Marcus Cleworth by the end of the year. And also An Academy for Liars by Alexis Henderson. I've given Alexis Henderson's books 5 stars so far, all of them. So she's a 5-star author for me from 2 books. So I'm very excited about getting to this one. I'm trying so hard not to get too ahead of myself and put this on a pedestal too early, but I've been really excited about this since I heard it was coming out. So both of these I would like to get to. This one I think is like dark academia. I don't know what else this is about at all. I've literally picked it up because it's got the name Alexis Henderson on the front of it. This one is a haunted house story / weird family thing story. There's a couple that live in this house. A family has turned up on their doorstep. Dad says that he used to live here. Can he show his kids around? And once they enter, weird shit starts going down. That's all I know, but I've heard great things. So I would like to get to both of these. Again, Ghostsmith by Nikki Palpretto, the sequel to Bonesmith. I would like to get to Jumpstart before the end of the year by Kayla James. I would also like to get to The Teller of Small Fortunes and obviously Bring Me Your Midnight. So that's not 3 though. You only asked for 3. These were 2 additionals, I suppose, to the 3 that I'd already previously mentioned about being excited to be released for the rest of the year. So there's that. Okay, next question is there any book that I think could still shock me and become my favourite book of the year? And the simple answer to this is no. It's literally the only answer I have for you. I don't think I think there is a chance that some books could shock me and become 5 stars. These 2, for example, I don't think these will shock me though. I won't be shocked if these are 5 stars. I will be shocked if they're not. But I don't by any means think that they would become my favourite books of the year. And there is a reason behind this. If you've been here a long time, if you've been here this year, you might know what my favourite book of the year is. I'm not going to spoil it right now, but my favourite book of the year got 10s across the board on Corpile. If you don't know what Corpile is, it's a rating system that has been made by G from Book Roast. And it's a really handy dandy rating system for those of us that are quite indecisive about what to rate our books. It helps us out a lot. So there is one book that I've read this year that's gotten 10s across the board, and I don't think anything's going to beat that book this year because the whole year I haven't stopped thinking about it. I read it quite early on this year and I haven't stopped thinking about it all year. And my best friend Laura, my other best friend that isn't Jade, is currently reading it at the moment. She messaged me about it the other day and I was like, girl, make sure you've got the next one handy because you're going to need it immediately. So anyway, the simple answer to this is no. I do think that these 2 could be 5 stars though. If you were looking for some 5-star predictions from me, those 2, I think. And then last but not least, have you started making reading plans for 2025? I have. Not massive ones, but I have. I already have the horror bingo board TBR going. I've already got the Our Fantasy bingo board TBR going. I will leave links. I think I did a video for the Our Fantasy bingo board. I can't remember, but if I did, I will leave links to both of them in the description box down below if you want to check those out. Those do run into next year. Our Fantasy runs right up until the end of March, and the horror bingo will run right up until the end of September. So both of those will be running into next year. I haven't specifically started making like vlog plan ideas, but I tend not to be that creative on that side of things, but I'm sure something will come to me at some point. However, there are a few books that I would really like to get to next year. So I do have just a little bit of a stack. You may end up seeing these again in another video towards the end of the year, but just a small stack of some books that I would really like to try and make an effort to get to next year. So I would really love to continue on this series. I don't know, is it the Green Creek series or something by TJ Klune? The first one is Wolfsong, and it's the only one I've read so far in the series, and I read it a couple of years ago now. So I would really like to continue on with this series with Ravensong, and then I've got the other two as well. I also would really like to continue on with it because I actually love the covers. I actually really enjoy these, the Indie Hat paperbacks, but I love the new covers. They're absolutely stunning. So I would really like a copy of the new covers in hardback if you can still get your hands on them. But I want to make sure that I love the series as much as I enjoyed the first one. So before I do that, before I invest money in it. So I would love to continue on with this series for sure. I would love to reread this series, The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I read this series quite a few years ago now, and I really wanted to try and reread it this year, but I've just not had the time. I've been rereading a whole bunch of other stuff instead, so I would love to reread the whole series. On the basis of rereading as well, I would love to continue rereading the Stalking Jack the Ripper series as well. I'm not going to manage that by the end of the year, but I would like to do it into next year for sure. But yeah, I would love to reread this series. This is a sci-fi series, and each of the books is kind of like a retelling of a fairy tale. This one is obviously Cinderella, and then you've got Scarlet, which I think is Red Riding Hood, Cress, maybe Snow White, I can't remember. There's Winter, Fairest, and then Stars Above, which Fairest and Stars Above are both novellas. But I would love to reread this series. I just really enjoy it. It was so good when I first read it, and I would love to give it a reread and hope that it holds up. So would love to reread this one. I really want to give this series a go. The Magnolia Par series by Jessa Hastings, because I have the first 4 on my shelves, and I went out of my way to get these ones because I hate the new paperback covers since they've been picked up by a publisher. So I went out of my way to purchase these ones. They're absolutely massive and they take a whole bunch of room up on my shelves. So I really want to at least try it so that if I don't like it, I can unhaul the first 4, and if I do like it, I can continue collecting the series. If I do like it, I'm going to try and plow my way through it, but I really want to give this one a go. I think this is romance, but like a dark romance. I don't know. I've only heard good things though. I don't know what to tell you. I would really like to get through this series, which is the Final Strife series. I don't know what the actual series is called, but the Final Strife series by Sarah L. Arifi. I have obviously the Final Strife, the Battle Drum, and the Ending Fire. This is now a completed trilogy, so I would really like to get through this now that it's completed. I love to have completed series on my shelves. I don't really do this anymore, but I got the Final Strife from the publisher, from Harper, so thank you to them for sending it me. And then I did go ahead and purchase the Battle Drum, and then when Ending Fire was being released, I did get myself a copy, annoyingly though. I did get this on purpose. It was the exact same price with or without sprayed edges. I'm not paying the same price for without sprayed edges when I can get the sprayed edges, even if they're gonna mismatch. I don't care what anybody says. Anyway, I would really like to give this a go. I've heard nothing but good things, and now that it's a completed series, I could binge my way. Well, I don't very often binge series, but it could be a series that I focus on this year, in 2025, sorry, to get through. So yeah, I've heard great things and I would really like to give it a go. And then the last one that I do have on here that I am going to mention for this video is Empire of the Damned by J. Kristoff. This is book 2 in this series. I loved Empire of the Vampire. I was really anxious about going into that book. First of all, it was massive. Second of all, I was in a really bad high fantasy slump, and I still am. I came out of it ever so slightly and then ended up back in it again. Brandon Sanderson's Way of Kings put me back in, and I'm really livid about it. I'm still not over it. I'm not over DNFing that book, and I'm with only about 300 pages to go, and I'm not over it being Brandon Sanderson that put me back into a reading slump. I'm really sad about it, I'm not gonna lie. Pissed and sad. But Empire of the Vampire was fantastic and I friggin' loved it, and I really want to get to Empire of the Damned, and I just keep delaying. I get to a point where I know that there's a release date for the next one, and then I'll pick that one up. So I've been waiting for, I don't know if we've got a release date for the third one. I know, I'm fairly certain Jay's finished writing it and now it's in the process of being edited. I'm fairly certain that's the case anyway, so I'm hoping that maybe there will be a release date for next year, or very early 2026 maybe, I don't know. Once I know there's a release date, I will read this. I think the really good thing that I'm excited about this for is that I don't feel, I have this thing where I'll read the first book in a series and then I don't continue on until the series is completed, because I get really fucking annoyed with having to reread books once the next one comes out. I don't mind it for the first one, but then I get really, really annoyed when I'm several books in. For example, the Bone Season series by Samantha Shannon. I've read the first 3 books, and then when The Mask Falling came out, I was like, I'm not reading this, because I believe this series is meant to be quite a long series. I can't remember if it's meant to be like 6 or 8 books or something long. So I was like, well, I'm just going to wait until they've all been released. What a dumb decision that was. But I'm just going to wait until they've all been released, and then I'll continue on, or I'll reread the first 3 and just binge the series. Lo and behold, several years have gone by and she's decided to rewrite the first 4 books. So I've purchased those, and now it will be, even though I'm familiar with the story and the characters and everything, it will be like reading new books again. So I haven't read them. I'm still going to do what I intended to do and hope that my interest in that series does not wane, because I'll be really fucking annoyed if I collect all the books and, you know, in 10 years time when she's finally finished the series, or however long it's going to take, I have lost interest in the series. I'll be really, really mad about it if that happens. So the good thing about Jay though is that he does a cracking, I've already spotted it in the beginning of the book, but he's got in here a cracking a cracking rundown of exactly who the characters are and what happened in the first book to them. And I'm really, really excited about that, because what it means is that I don't have to reread Empire of the Vampire. He's given me a quick rundown of what happened in the first book, a quick reminder of who the characters are, what happened to them, and exactly where we're at in the book before I get into it. So I'm really excited about that, which means that I don't need to reread Empire of the Vampire if I haven't got time to do so, because it is a chunky book. So this is the Illumicrate edition, by the way. I do have a normal Waterstones edition as well, and they're the ones that I tend to read. I get both because, but these books are beautiful and I'm greedy, so, and I don't want to ruin those, you know, who wouldn't? Who would want to ruin those? So those are kind of like my tentative 2025 reading plans so far. I don't have anything else set in stone yet. There are a lot of series I would really, really, really love to complete. I would really love to make more progress on Zodiac Academy in one of 2 ways. Either continue on with the series and get up to date / finish it, or just DNF the series and unhaul the lot. It again takes up so much room on my shelves. So again, I think in 2025 I'm going to end up kind of being quite brutal with my books, and if my interest wanes in it ever so slightly, that'll be it. It will be gone, especially if I've got multiple books in the series as well at that point. So I don't know, I feel like I'm going to end up potentially narrowing down my niche a little bit more with my reading. I've definitely always been a broad reader and will read from multiple different genres, and I think that will continue to be the case, but I've already narrowed down from high fantasy. I don't read high fantasy much anymore. I really struggle with it. Epic fantasy I seem to be not as bad with, but high fantasy I'm really, really struggling with at the moment, and I'm not reaching a lot for chunky fantasy anymore. This, I'm already familiar with the world and I seem to be okay with that. Anything new is a struggle for me, and I really hate that for me, because I really loved being in epic fantasy worlds and high fantasy worlds. It is what it is. Sci-fi, I don't read a great deal of anyway, but I do read some. I would like to read a little bit more, to be honest, but I do have quite a few on here that I do want to get to. I actually think I might want to get into sci-fi horror a little bit more and narrow that down to sci-fi horror specifically. Romance will forever stay, obviously. Probably romantasy the same, but thrillers and horrors I think will become pretty hefty for me next year. I foresee that being a thing for me next year for sure, because I'm really getting into horror massively. So, but I may end up narrowing these things down to certain, you know, niches. Haunted house stories really do it for me. Slashers really do it for me. But Final Girl specific, narrowed down Final Girl slashers don't. For some weird reason, don't enjoy that. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see what 2025 brings. Chat to me in the comments down below. Have you read any of these? Should I prioritize any of the books that I've mentioned? What are you planning on getting to by the end of the year? What is a book that immediately comes to your mind, the forefront of your mind, that you would like to get to by the end of the year? Chat to me in the comments down below. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I will see you in whatever comes next. Bye for now.